Good morning. I would like to call the April 16, 2014 City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity in government to share this meeting for a time of refreshment of spirit and fellowship. Help us to work and think and pray together, that we may be more perfectly fitted to serve you and those with whom we work in the task in which we have been called. Help us, God, to look wise and reflect thy wisdom. Fill us with the high ideals. Inspire us with love and goodwill to all, that we may rightly lead in the paths of chivalry and honor. And all this we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a couple announcements before we move forward. We have a couple of changes to the agenda. So the first change is item 1B2. It has been withdrawn, which is the Historic Preservation Advisory Board Activities Update has been withdrawn. Item 1B3, which is a presentation by New Operation Cooper Street, will be moved to 7E, which is new business. It's no longer a presentation, it's under new business. And then item 7C, which is discussion regarding 2-hour parking on Olympia that was requested by Nancy Prafke, has been postponed until May 21st. So those are the 3 changes that we have on the agenda before we start. Everybody fine with that? Okay, and now we will move into proclamations and presentations. And the first we have is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and that would be Councilmember Freeland.
Thank you. My honor. Proclamation, City of Punta Gorda, Florida. Whereas Florida's future prosperity depends on nurturing the healthy development of more than 4 million children currently living, growing, and learning within our many diverse communities. And whereas research shows that safe and nurturing relationships and stimulating and stable environments improve brain development and the well-being of children, while neglectful or abusive experiences and unstable or stressful environments increase the odds of poor childhood outcomes. And whereas the abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems affecting all of society, including physical and mental health problems, school failure, and criminal behavior. And whereas research also shows that parents and caregivers who have social networks and know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. And whereas individuals, businesses, schools, and faith-based and community organizations must make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Florida Department of Children and Families, will be engaging communities throughout the state in a coordinated effort to prevent child abuse and neglect by promoting the awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of concrete support families need within their communities. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2014 as Child Abuse Prevention Month, passed and duly adopted in regular session the 16th day of April 2014. Rachel Kiesling, Mayor. And accepting is Aaron Stitt from the Department of Children and Families. Good morning. Thank you. You want to say a few words?
Good morning. My name's Aaron Stitt. I'm the Community Development Administrator for the Florida Department of Children and Families here in Circuit 20 that covers Charlotte County. On behalf of the Executive Office of the Governor, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and Prevent Child Abuse Florida, we would like to thank the Charlotte County City Council, Punta Gorda City Council for recognition and support of the Prevent Child Abuse month of April. In an effort to continue the energy being put into this, the Children's Network of Southwest Florida, along with the Florida Department of Children and Families, and Lead Pits Live will be conducting a series of community forums in the month of May. May 22nd, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Port Charlotte Library will be this county's prevention discussion. Thank you again.
Thank you. Next, we have National Telecommunicators Week. Councilmember Prafke.
Thank you. Good morning. Proclamation, City of Punta Gorda. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of the property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent on the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from citizens who telephone the Punta Gorda Police Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Punta Gorda Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Punta Gorda Police Department answered 29,366 administrative phone calls and 6,553 911 emergency phone calls, contributing to a police officer response time of 4 minutes and 14 seconds for all calls for service in fiscal year 2013. And whereas each public safety telecommunicator has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, does hereby proclaim the week of April 13 through 19, 2014 as National Telecommunicators Week in Punta Gorda, and does hereby honor all of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and our citizens safe. Passed and duly adopted in regular session the 16th day of April 2014. City of Punta Gorda, Florida. Rachel Keesley, Mayor. And accepting is Nancy Morris.
Nancy Morris.
Communications Supervisor, PGPD. Thank you.
Good morning, Jason Cischini of the Police Department. On behalf
morning.
of the Punta Gorda Police Department and Ray Briggs Fire Department, we appreciate council this morning recognizing our dispatchers for National Telecommunicator Week. These are the folks every day that are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, weekends and holidays, behind the scenes. They're kind of our unsung heroes. They're our first answering point, the first people that people call and talk to when there's a problem. What a lot of people don't realize, we talked about the phone calls, even here in Punta Gorda. I mean, we're answering almost 30,000 administrative phone calls, another 6,500 emergency 911 calls. That's generating about 15,000 events on the police department side and about another 3,500 events on the fire department side. That's every single year we're doing that. We appreciate these folks. Again, they're the unsung heroes behind the scenes that we don't see very often, and it's nice to be able to recognize them for doing the fantastic job they do every day. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we have the National Day of Prayer, which I will read. Proclamation, City of Punta Gorda, Florida. Whereas prayer is regarded by millions as the most important utterance of mankind for its benefit, and whereas prayer has aided us in all times where support and guidance where needed, whereas it is fitting that we should give thanks for the freedom and prosperity which our nation and state enjoys, and to pray for the continued guidance and comfort which God has graciously bestowed upon this nation since its inception. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is a time set aside for Americans to pray and reaffirm the spiritual principles upon which our nation was founded. And whereas the City of Punta Gorda, the State of Florida, and the United States of America can and will benefit from prayer by its faithful and prayerful residents. And whereas this year's theme, One Voice United in Prayer, from Romans 15:6, which tells us, so that with one mind and one voice you may glorify the God and Father of Lord Jesus Christ. And whereas across our land on May 1st, Americans will unite at specific times in prayer for our nation, state, and city to acknowledge our dependence upon God, to give thanks for the blessings our country has received from Him, to recognize our need for personal and corporate renewal of moral values, and to invoke God's blessings upon our leaders. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda does hereby proclaim May 1st, 2014 as National Day of Prayer throughout the city and invites all residents to observe this day in ways appropriate to its importance and significance. Passed and duly adopted this day, April 16th, City of Punta Gorda, Florida, Rachel Kiesling, Mayor, and accepting as Bob Carlson from First Methodist Church.
Thank you very much. Thank you, City Council, for this proclamation. I know that we're in a time when many government officials fear making such a proclamation as this. They don't want to be accused of doing something that is unconstitutional, and what they don't understand is that those men who wrote and ratified the Constitution called the American people to pray many, many times. And so I hope you will continue with your courageous acts each year. Each year at this time, Debbie Carney and I plan the National Day of Prayer service here in Punta Gorda, and it will be this year on May 1st in front of the City Hall Annex. Although last year, I think it rained, didn't it? And we were invited to come in here, and that was wonderful. It was better than standing in the rain. But at noon on May 1st, and representatives from various denominations will be involved in it. It's only about a half an hour, and so we invite all of you to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Comcast Cares Day. Howard Kunit will present.
Whereas Comcast supports the core American value of volunteerism through partnerships, grants, and volunteer activities that empower individuals and local community-based organizations. And whereas Comcast Cares Day is Comcast and NBC Universal's signature day of service that has become the nation's largest single-day corporate volunteer effort that brings employees, families, friends, and community partners together for a common purpose. And whereas Comcast remains an active, committed, and engaged member of the local Punta Gorda community, as demonstrated by its partnership with Team Punta Gorda and Charlotte County Habitat for Humanity for Comcast Cares Day during National Volunteer Month. And whereas Comcast is celebrating its 13th Comcast Cares Day and has reached important milestones, including 3 million volunteer hours and 500,000 volunteers since Comcast Cares Day started in 2001. And whereas Comcast Cares Day promotes a spirit of corporate responsibility, thanks to the hard work, dedication, and service of 300 volunteers in the Punta Gorda community. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda hereby proclaims April 26, 2014 as Comcast Cares Day, passed and duly adopted in regular session the 16th day of April 2014. City of Punta Gorda, Rachel Kiesling, Mayor. And here to accept will be Justin Damiano from Comcast. And Team Punta Gorda is here with them.
Well, good morning. Again, it's an honor to accept this proclamation on behalf of our 1,400 employees in Southwest Florida, and really over 300 volunteers that we expect to participate on Comcast Cares Day. That's April 26, 2014. Here in Punta Gorda. With me today is Judy with Team Punta Gorda, and as the proclamation read, We are partnering with Team Punta Gorda. Nancy Johnson has been instrumental in that partnership. Charlotte Habitat for Humanity, Mike Mansfield has been instrumental in that partnership. It's been a pleasure working with these great community leaders, and actually there are many others. The unique thing about Comcast Cares Day, in addition to bringing these volunteers together to serve as part of Paint Your Heart Out, Punta Gorda, that's our main project. We'll be painting the town and beautifying the city. The other great thing about bringing these folks together is we'll also award a grant on behalf of every volunteer who participates on that day. So that's both our employees, their neighbors and family members, but also all the Team Punta Gorda volunteers and the Charlotte Habitat for Humanity volunteers and the other corporate leaders that are coming together to serve that day. We'll award a grant on behalf of each and every one of them as a way to help Team Punta Gorda continue its mission throughout the year. And lastly, I'd just like to make two important notes. First of all, this project was the first established in the state of Florida of all Comcast Cares Day projects. This city's project was the first to be established, and so we're really excited about that. Punta Gorda led the way in Florida for projects for Comcast Cares Day, which is pretty exciting. I'm happy to announce. And then secondly, I wanted to invite Judy to come up and maybe say a few words on behalf of Team Punta Gorda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Brentano, Chief Operating Officer for Team Punta Gorda, in here for Nancy Johnson, CEO, who is in China for a whole month, celebrating her 50th anniversary. So I want to thank partnering with Comcast has been an absolute delight and has been more than we have anticipated, along with the Charlotte County Habitat for Humanity. We are going to probably have over 250 with a cutoff of 300 volunteers, and we're over halfway there so far. So please sign up at the Comcast in the community's website if you have Facebook, and if you have a problem, call Team Punta Gorda's office or email us and we will handle that. But we are painting 9 houses and 1 museum, the Blanchard House on the east side of Punta Gorda, on April 26th. And this was a nomination process by the churches of the community that came forth and the Blanchard House and nominated quite a few houses. And we had a professional building inspector that volunteered his time. And he went around to every one of the houses and saw the need and saw the appropriateness for that house and managed to line up many builders for the city, including power washers, and we're getting everything done gratis. We are expending a few funds because we are fortunate to have sponsors. But I just wanted to say on behalf of Team Punta Gorda, this is probably the largest project we have ever been involved in, has taken so many man-hours, and is, thanks to Comcast, going to be a tremendous success. Thank you. Thank you for the proclamation.
And next we have Law Day. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Proclamation, City of Punta Gorda, Florida. Whereas the American justice system is charged with upholding and protecting the rights as well as the freedom and justice for all Americans, and whereas in 1961 Congress issued a joint resolution declaring May 1st Law Day, which is a national day to recognize and celebrate our justice system and the rule of law, and whereas as we approach the 50th anniversaries of Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the 2014 Law Day theme, American Democracy and the Rule of Law, Why Every Vote Matters, calls on every American to reflect on the importance of citizens' rights to vote and the challenges we still face in ensuring that all Americans have the opportunity to participate in our democracy. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, does hereby proclaim Thursday, May 1st, 2014, as Law Day in Punta Gorda, and urges all community residents, schools, businesses, civic groups, news media, legal professionals, and law students to support this national day by participating in Law Day activities and to commemorate the role of law in our lives. Passed and duly adopted in regular session the 16th day of April 2014, City of Punta Gorda, Florida. Rachel Kiesling, Mayor. Considering this was a law document, it was quite short, but accepting is David.
He'll make up for it during the meeting, probably.
Well, I accept this proclamation on behalf of all Americans, and to remind you that on May 1st, hug an attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have Charlotte County Pride Fest Day, Councilmember Devine.
My pleasure. Proclamation, City of Punta Gorda, Florida. Whereas Charlotte County Pride's mission is to uplift and inspire the community to come together in unity as a family, encouraging equality and diversity. And whereas the Charlotte County Pride Fest plays an important part in the rich fabric of our diversity and in a city where culture flourishes and neighborhoods grow. We have cause to celebrate the harmony in which we coexist, and whereas Pride Fest contributes to reducing discrimination and other barriers faced by this community with respect to employment, housing, public safety, health care, and recognition of family relationships, and whereas the City of Punta Gorda is supportive of efforts to establish a caring, compassionate society and recognizes that a fundamental strength of our community lies in our diversity and therefore takes an active role in eliminating forms of discrimination and disadvantage. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, does hereby proclaim May 3rd, 2014 as Charlotte County Pride Fest Day and invites all citizens to take part in the celebration. Passed and duly adopted in regular session this 16th day of April, 2014, City of Punta Gorda, Florida, Rachel Kiesling, Mayor, and accepting is Terry Malia.
Nervous, not really a speaker here, but I'd like to thank you for this. I'd also like to thank you for allowing us to bring it into your city this year. I think we're looking to double what we did last year, and it was pretty good for our first year. We had over 1,000 attendants. We tried to give back at the same time. Last year we had CHAPS there, and they had so many goods that were brought to them that they had overstuffed a van that they couldn't fit everything in there that all the attendants had brought to bring. We're doing that again this year, and we also invited American Disaster Relief. They'll be one of our vendors there, and every food item and everything that they sell out of that truck will be giving back to anyone that's in a disaster area zone. So again, I want to thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing everyone.
Next, we have presentations, and the first one is a 10-year service award for Susan Rush Telecommunicator.
Well, it's appropriate that we had to put this off until today, because today is National Telecommunicators Week. Susan, come on up. Get your 10-year service award, and Captain Caccini will say a few words.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Good morning, Jason Ciaschini with the Police Department. Just want to take a few moments just to recognize Sue Rush for a 10-year service award. Sue joined the Police Department as a dispatcher on February 23rd, 2004. She was assigned as a training operator for the Police Department on February 21st of 2006, recognized as Employee of the Quarter in 2007. She's currently our most tenured Police Department employee in dispatch. Although she primarily works her overnight shifts, she's one of her secondary jobs while she's there is she maintains our key holder list, which is a very big task. It's one of those behind-the-scene things that you don't see, which allows us to keep current with all of our community members and our businesses so we have immediate contact information. She's in charge of that. And she's also been recognized several times in her career for her customer service and has participated in quite a few community events. And congratulations to you for your 10-year service event.
Appreciate it. Thank you all very much. I love my job. I love telling cops where to go and firefighters. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you postponing until I was able to make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that completes all of our presentations. There are no more changes to this agenda, Howard.
Not quite. Some people from Leadership Charlotte showed up, and I have no idea why, but they've asked to speak. So can we just have them come up and maybe they can
Sure.
tell us why they're here?
They're a very familiar group here, making me nervous.
It's worth it for that alone. Come on up, everyone. About 2.5 years ago, all of us got together through Leadership Charlotte, including Rachel. And our first actual event together was something called SimSoc, which is we basically formed our own little pretend government for the day. And it was an eventful day, and we learned a lot about each other that day. We went on to form a very tight bond, and as a class, we accomplished a lot more than your average class. And we've gone on since leadership to do some really amazing things in this community as well. Rachel, we're very proud of you in your role right now. And one of the things that you might recall as a class is that we really stick together and we take care of each other, watch our six, and all that good stuff. During the period when we were in leadership, we got to see a lot of this community, a lot of what makes it work. We were all, I think, profoundly impressed and proud to be a member of this community because all the parts that are together are working so well. And we learned that one of the things that's really important with this is to make sure that when you're doing a job, that you have the right tools to do the job. And Rachel, it came to our attention that, and we asked around, we wanted to make sure that we weren't missing anything, but it came to our attention that there was something missing for you, and we decided that as a team, being your backup, we got to do something about this and fix it. So we brought something for you today, which we hope you can put to good use.
Oh, no. Wow.
That's fancy.
Nice
I'm
box.
scared to open it.
They got your back, remember that.
Is it? Push button.
It's just a box, that's all.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. That's really nice. It's engraved.
Take it out, let's see if it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
so
best
much.
wishes from all of us. Some of us couldn't make it here. They asked me to also express their best wishes to you and to just let you know we're really pleased to have you
Thank you.
among us.
You guys are too much.
Oh.
Not a good sign. Thank you.
Do you guys do this too?
Thank you.
No, not yet, we didn't graduate.
And John and I were red, and we were minority red, so we couldn't work, we couldn't drive, we couldn't leave, we couldn't do anything.
Stuck together.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Do you guys want to take a picture?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Come to the front.
I didn't get a hug.
Come.
Ashley, have you solved anything this week?
No, it's been a slow week. It's final week, so I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm solving how to get 10 people in one picture. Actually, yes, if you don't mind. I mean, we all like each other. All right, ready? And one shot. All right, I want to copy this picture. Can the tall one?
Guys, I didn't have enough big news for everybody, so just.
Share. Just the ladies.
Very nice.
Very nice. Okay. Okay, now we are under introduction of board or committee member nominees. If your name has been submitted and nominated for a board or committee and you would like to come to the podium and introduce yourself, now would be the time. Seeing none, I think we're going to take a short break and let IT come in. So we're going to take a 5-minute break right now.
Good, because I'm stuck and I don't. Okay. We'll talk more.
Can't get your
See,
report.
it just, oh.
Okay.
Not going into it either.
9:37, and we are back, and we are moving into the public hearing agenda. And the first public hearing we have is GA 05-14.
This is the first reading of an ordinance, which I'll read by title only. An ordinance of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, amending Chapter 7, Building Regulations, Punta Gorda Code, Article 5, Floodplain Management Code, to correct Scrivener's errors, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date.
We adopted the code, flood management code, in November. The state reviewed it, and the Florida Department of Emergency Management has some very minor changes, wording changes, no substantive changes, and that's all we're here to do.
Move approval, GA 05.
Public hearing.
Oh,
Okay, this is a public hearing. Any comments? No. Okay, public hearing on GA 05-14. This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak, please come to the podium, state your name. Last call.
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and second to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, carried unanimously.
move approval, GA 0514.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve GA 0514. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, carried unanimously. And next, we have a quasi-judicial public hearing, V01-14. Karen?
Anyone that's going to be speaking, providing testimony or evidence with respect to this hearing, please rise to be sworn by the clerk at this time.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in today's proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. When you come to the podium, please state your name and indicate you've been sworn.
This is a request by Jerry L. Wexler, agent for Vivanti at Punta Gorda Property Owners Association, for a variance to the land development regulations per Chapter 26, Section 16.10 Punta Gorda Code to allow an irrigation well with a submersible pump to be placed on the property known as Vivanti, which is zoned general multifamily, 15 units per acre, and is located within the Special Residential Overlay District. Irrigation wells are not permitted within the Special Residential Overlay District pursuant to Chapter 26, Section 3.13O Punta Gorda Code.
Good morning. For the record, Terry Tubb, zoning official, and I have been sworn. Staff did receive this request for variance for an irrigation well and has reviewed the information. Vivanti is a large multifamily development, and staff did find that the application did meet all the criteria necessary for approval of a variance, and staff recommends approval, including a landscape buffer for the portions above ground. Board of Zoning Appeals recommended approval by a 6-to-1 vote as well.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, if this moves ahead and gets accepted, what kind of precedent are we looking at, Terry?
Each variance stands on its own merits, and it is does not set any precedents at all.
Okay.
So, in your opinion, is this request based on, because it says here that, based on the cost effectiveness of using-
The size of the development, being that it's over 40 acres, and the requirement for irrigation for all development within the Special Residential Overlay District. Vivanti is heavily landscaped, and so the irrigation costs do tend to, for the association, when you look at the association bill for the year, I believe it was around $53,000 just for the irrigation portion. And staff agreed that to do an irrigation well made sense. There was no objection from the Director of Utilities either.
Any other questions? No?
Good morning, Jerry Waxler. I have been sworn, and before I begin, I just want everyone to know I will be available to receive hugs on May 1st. It's in the record. I'm here this morning representing Vivanti at Punta Gorda Owners Association, Inc., which is requesting a variance from the Special Residential Overlay District, which prohibits water wells for all properties except golf courses within the district. There are 8 criteria to be addressed for a variance, and I addressed all of those in the application, which I now submit into the record. I just want to briefly speak to the final criteria, which is that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The city's comprehensive plan repeatedly discusses the challenge of providing sufficient potable water for its residents. it doesn't seem to make sense to require irrigation, which does not need potable water, to be solely from a potable water source. So I think perhaps the most compelling reason for this variance is that it helps to address that need that's identified in your comp plan, that you limit potable water consumption for non-potable purposes. The well will connect to an existing sprinkler, because they're already using potable water. It will connect to that existing sprinkler system. Other than a submerged pump and a small electrical service, there's no additional structures that will be required as a result of this proposal. And as indicated, Vivanti agrees to the requirement that they will provide a landscape buffer around that small electrical service, which will be placed on the portion of the property where the sales center is located. Staff has determined that the criteria for variance has been met, recommends approval of the request. The Planning Commission also recommended approval, and Vivanti respectfully requests that the City Council approve this variance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move approval of V0114.
Second.
Oh, this is a public hearing. We're opening the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak on V01-14, please come to the podium, state your name. Anybody wanting to speak on V01-14, please come to the podium. Last call for public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none?
Move approval of V-01-14.
Second.
With the condition that staff recommends.
With the condition, yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve V01-14 with the staff recommendations intact. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Howard?
Vice Mayor, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. This would seem to me that we perhaps should take a look at our code and in terms of other multiple family units, and perhaps add that into our code so that it doesn't have to come back as a variance each time. I mean, this is, I think, the argument with regards to using potable water for irrigation of large tracts of land does not seem reasonable to be using our water that way. And we are obviously concerned about conservation of our water resources. I would think we might want to consider that.
I agree with that.
I'm okay with it remaining a variance procedure because it doesn't, each one does stand on its own, and I think they should be judged on their own merits and individually.
I would like to understand if we have projects anywhere close to the size of Avanti where this ordinance or variance might be put into effect. I don't know that there are that many, and so I'm kind of thinking that we should kind of leave it as a standalone, unless there is evidence that other projects would fall into a Avanti type.
Well, according to this, we're looking at multifamily 15 units per acre. So I would think that there are other opportunities there for this type of change.
Well, then I would think you would get into some that would fall within that and some would not. I don't know if Tarpon Cove would or would not, but that, when I lived there, I would say 25% of the budget was on irrigation for the landscaping. And that's just part of the fee that you pay to live in a beautifully landscaped area. So I don't know how we would decide with an ordinance who would fall into that and who would not. So I'm leaning toward keeping it as a variance for that reason.
I don't disagree with you. It's, for the purposes of conservation, it might make sense to just take a look at it. It's one of the things that I know that SwiftMud likes to see that municipalities consider conservation, and we don't offer reuse water. So until such time that we're able to do that, there really is no alternative but to offer a well. So it's possibly we should take a look at it. I don't know how much of it how many demands for wells there will be, but.
And how much the savings might be also. But again, I'm thinking about conserving our water, our potable water, I think would be an important kind of thing. I'm not sure how many condo or multiple family units have even requested a well. It's just not on the books, therefore they wouldn't even probably request it.
For the record, Terry Tubbs, zoning official. We haven't had a lot of requests. We've had a couple of inquiries. I would say the majority of the multifamily developments that are already developed are somewhat smaller in scale. Tarpon Cove was one that came to mind. There are a couple that might be large enough or have enough landscaped area that the irrigation portion of their water bill is somewhat high. I'd have to really look into it, but a lot of the multifamily developments are simply a single floor quadruplex, and it's not a large development.
Well, maybe it's something the Utility Advisory Board could consider, because if we're suggesting that we want to take those customers off of our utility service for that reason, then I think they should weigh in on it, because they're the ones that watch the numbers and monitor, the demand and the finances of the utility fund. So I think it would be important for them to take a look at it.
I would agree with you from that standpoint. I thought about it as we discussed this particular well, and the amount of money that is paid annually, I couldn't justify not approving a well just for the purposes of retaining the revenue, because I just didn't feel it was the right thing to do from a conservation standpoint. So, but I would want the Utilities Advisory Board to weigh in.
I'm not so sure that we should be looking at it from the standpoint of whether we're taking revenue away from the utility board if we allows wells to be put in for the purposes of conserving water. I think that we ought to just take a look at it, or our staff take a look at it, at the condominium units that might qualify for something like that, and get some recommendations back to us so we can look at it from that standpoint.
I would be fine with that.
Yeah, we can do some looking into the size of the various condominium developments and availability of land for possible future developments as well.
The area right along Shreve is going to be probably a very large multifamily unit. So again, I'm thinking as people, as developers are looking at this to develop properties, if they know that this is an option for them in terms of the potential residents, again, to save those residents some money, this might be, again, an opportunity to secure them to go forward and develop.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yes?
We'll have staff take a look at it. A likely candidate is probably going to be the Loop when they come in, depending on whatever they decide to put in there.
The Loop is not within the Special Residential Overlay District, so they wouldn't need a variance.
They would not.
They would not.
I take that back.
So they would be allowed to drill the well and install the well?
Yes.
Without having to get special approval?
Yes.
There you
Okay.
go. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
we'll look at it.
Okay, next we have an ordinance GA 0614.
This is the second reading of an ordinance which I'll read by title only. An ordinance of the City of Punta Gorda amending the City of Punta Gorda firefighters retirement system as adopted by Ordinance 879-87, as subsequently amended, is hereby further amended to provide for compliance with the Internal Revenue Code, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
The second reading of the fire system pension changes per IRS. We did the same thing with general and police.
Move approval of GA 0614.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve GA 0614. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. And next we have the consent agenda. Anybody like to pull any item off of the consent agenda? You still have your purple nail from Women Build. I see that.
And it is a, what do I want to call this? I love my
Love tap.
symbol. It's my, own symbol of what we did. And I went to the house on Sunday, took my husband to see it, and talked with someone last night. They are putting the drywall up this week. And Leslie Pett's team is going to be painting the interior walls on this weekend, and they're going to have the dedication on Saturday, May the 10th, the day before Mother's Day, and would like everyone to show up in their pink.
Thanks.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so now we're moving on to citizens' comments.
Don't we
Consent.
have to approve the consent agenda? Move
No,
approval?
first we have citizens'
Oh,
comments.
sorry.
Citizens' comments on consent agenda items, which would be approval of the minutes, the invoice from the FAR Law Firm, and a resolution of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, with the police and the Florida Department of Highway Safety. Any comments on those 3 items? Okay.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, next we're moving into the regular agenda, and the first item that we have are citizens' comments on regular agenda items only. You have 3 minutes, and please abide by our rules of conduct. State your name.
Good morning, Steve Fabian. I'd just like to comment about 5B. That's a sales tax thing. If you look at that list, there's a lot of wants on it and a lot of needs. And I would suggest you don't want to jump into put yourself firmly in place of what's going to be used that for until you really get closer to your budget planning. Because if you looked at last week, our last meeting, there was a lot of budget items in there that were really needs. And I think you ought to go slow on this and hold off making big decisions into what you're going to spend that money on. Because there are an awful lot of needs, and I think those should be prioritized over the wants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments on regular agenda items? Okay, next we're moving into budget presentations, and the first we have is a presentation of the CAFR for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2013.
For the record, Dave Drury, Finance Director. This is my favorite council meeting every year. I just love coming here and showing off this ability of my staff. We had help from other departments, and this is just great fun.
Where's my bow on this?
You all received the memo that there is going to be a test today, but I did. You didn't see the memo? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give a memo to Karen. Oh, geez. You'll get a CAFR. And it's just my opportunity to crow a little bit. There is an auditor here in the audience. He's partnered with Ashley Brown. Jeff Brown's here to discuss the audit. I'm here to discuss any questions you may have on the content. Enclosed in the back of the booklet you received is also the single audit, which were required. Both reports were unqualified, as we call it, clean opinion. There were no management letter comments that I had to correct from prior year or answer to from prior year, and there were no management comments for this year. So the whole thing was clean. I'm happy to say that it's on the website. Anyone wants to see it, they're welcome to go for it. And if there are any questions, Jeff, I'm going to ask Jeff to get up and talk for 2 minutes, and I'm here to answer any questions. And then I'll ask the test questions. It is open book, though.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Jeff with Jeff Brown, Ashley Brown and Company CPAs. And I'm not going to obviously go through this entire report, but please, if you've got questions as you peruse it, please feel free to contact Dave or myself, and we'd be more than happy to answer anything that you would have. But as he mentioned, it is a clean or an unmodified opinion. In case you are comparing, the only thing I'm going to say, in case you are comparing it to prior years, there's some change in the report formats. It's got some bold headers, and it's an attempt to sort of clarify the management's responsibility, our responsibility as far as who prepares the financial statements and what our responsibility is as far as issuing the opinion. So with that said, it was a clean audit. We appreciate the efforts of your staff, and we didn't have any recommendations, and the city is in compliance with everything that they're required to from a financial perspective. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howard?
Last year, we had a more detailed presentation of what a comprehensive annual financial report is. We decided not to do that this year.
Thank you.
If at some point in the future you would like another detailed presentation, we can certainly do it. But the most important thing is that it's a clean audit, and it's on our website. You're welcome to take a look at all the financial information for the year ending September 30th. And did a great job.
It's got a lot of good stuff in it, so 10-year history and all.
I don't know where this leaves me, but I'm going to admit to leaving my CAFR home today.
Ah, that's okay. I did wear my best shirt and tie, though. My wife appreciated that.
I do want to say I appreciate the depth to which you all go to really make all of our city's financial information as transparent as possible. And I get a lot of questions, and I think there's so much information.
Yes.
You're always available to answer any questions, not just for me, but for others, for citizens as well. And that is tremendous.
Between
It's-
this and the budget book, they're two very
Absolutely.
valuable documents, and we're
There's
proud of them.
no- Well, and we don't try to hide anything.
No.
I mean, it's a total open the kimono, so to speak, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you and all
Thank
your
you, Dave.
members of your department.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We need a motion to accept the CAFR.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the CAFR as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, next we have the 1% local options sales tax steering committee recommendations, and I'll let Howard start it off. He was the moderator for the group.
Can we put this on Elmore? While we're getting set up, we gotta, does that have to turn on or something?
Yeah, I just turned it on. It's just warming up, I think.
Okay. While we're getting the chart on the screen, for 4 different meetings, a steering committee consisting of representation from all of the city's neighborhoods, at least they were nominated to come. And most of the time, we had representation from the neighborhood. Sometimes we didn't. We met and we took all of the suggestions from council members, staff, citizens, community groups. I mean, it was a very, very large list. And we took those suggestions and we had presentations from staff members, and the committee asked questions. Each person of the committee was then asked to rank the projects per established criteria. The established criteria were: does the project impact public health and safety? Does it foster business development and create long-term jobs? Does it improve quality of life? Will it result in a decrease or increase in operation and maintenance costs? And is this a joint project with another entity? Those were the 5 criteria that each committee member was asked to rank the projects. They did that. We put together a kind of like a priority from those who received the most points to those down at the bottom of the list. We have $12 million from which to work with. That's about $2 million a year over 6 years. If it passes in November, that's what we anticipate the city's share will be, about $12 million. Charlotte County also went through a similar process. Councilmember Kavanaugh was on the Charlotte County committee. And the committee is recommending $12 million worth of projects to be undertaken based on the priorities that they established. The first category is Punta Gorda Pathways and Harbor Walk. And listed under that are a number of specific projects that we would undertake. That is far and large, the largest item, dollar-wise, that the committee feels that if the voters pass it, we should complete. The Punta Gorda Pathways makes a statement. It's something that our community has become identified with. It's very, very popular. It promotes a lot of the parts of our strategic plan that we're trying to promote. Everything from an active lifestyle to marketing to, it runs the gamut. And you see that around $7.9 million of the $12 million the committee feels should go towards the Punta Gorda Pathways, and that includes the Harbor Walk as well. And it also completes the loop. Goes all along Cooper Street, Airport Road, linking up to the Mertz. And it gives everybody an opportunity to see the entire city through walking, biking, running, alternative transportation is what we call it. Another significant project was stormwater, and that is a neighborhood on the eastern side of Punta Gorda that is frankly the area that has the most flooding issues left in the city, especially after we take care of downtown. And that's the Boca Grande neighborhood. We've started to do some work there in-house, but we still have work to do. Street lighting, we've identified 3 areas that the committee would like to see some decorative lighting. You see what those are. Sidewalks, we want to finish the re-bricking in front of the post office, that block there across from the Celtic Ray. And that area there needs some work near the post office and the bank. A couple streets in Bernstow Isles and some intersection work. Technology, we've talked about these projects during our budget presentation. And those are the 4 major computer technology upgrades we would like to do. Fleet, we had quite a discussion on fleet, and one of the priorities that the committee felt was that we need to start weaning ourselves off of the sales tax to replace our fleet. So what we've done is we've recommended 1 fire engine replacement, probably towards the end of this 5 or 6 years. We cut the police patrol replacements in half, from 24 to 12. And then there's a storm sewer, that's not a sewer, it's a storm sewer cleaning truck. Very expensive truck. But the reason we cut some of the fleet requests down is that we need to start thinking about taking those out of the general fund where they belong. We can't rely on the sales tax for all of our fleet replacements. And this recommendation starts to do that, and council, in our last meeting on the budget, talked about setting up a fleet replacement fund. And then some public facilities, some improvements to some of our public facilities. Not all the ones that have been suggested, but some. Project management has been placed in the various projects that they would apply to. So that totals $12 million. Now, it also relies on 2 grants. One grant is for Harbor Walk West Zone 7, which we are going to be talking about very soon on the agenda. Actually, instead of 1.7, that really should be 1.8 million. And $850,000 for Carmelita US 41. That is an MPO project that we want to get raised on the priority level. And that connects our linear part 2 across 41 onto the east side of 41. Those, if we do not get those grant funds, then that $12 million isn't going to be able to do all those projects. So the committee felt we should have a tier 2. And if we do not get grant funding, that's down the list, project category tier 2 with no grant funding, then Carmelita US 41, improvements to Marriage Point on the pathways, Airport Road multi-use recreational trail, and Virginia, we would only do US 41 north to Nesbit. We wouldn't do the rest of Virginia that we'd like to do. Would fall by the wayside if you take this ranking. We also have 2 projects that if we take in more money than $12 million, the committee felt should go towards Harbor Walk East, finishing up Adrian to Cooper to coincide with the Cooper Street Mert right there by the hospital, and putting back money in for energy improvements so that we don't have to take it from the storm fund if there is no sales tax. Now, Charlotte County is having a meeting this week to go over their list, and they will be voting on their list May 13th?
Yes.
May 13th, right? Okay. So, council has expressed a desire to do a resolution on the sales tax, and we have time to do that at the next council meeting, which will be May 7th, depending on the discussion today.
As part of the group, I would just like to say that it was a functional group, and I think everybody considered all areas of the city. Yes, there were neighborhood representatives there, but all the projects throughout the city were considered by all the members that were active. And I think at the end, we had consensus at the last meeting, and it went pretty smooth. And obviously, the Harbor Walk and most of these, except for the Gilchrist Park, which everybody feels is an unfinished project because it was on the last ISS funding stream, but it never made it. They felt like that was a very high priority since we have already done sections of it behind the Bayfront Center and behind the Punta Gorda Waterfront Hotel. We've already started, and we have design plans to finish the whole entire thing. That was one of the highest priorities. And then a lot of these other little, they may look like little projects, but we've had requests for the ADA ramp up to the bridge for a long time, and a lot of these other sidewalk, like from Baynard to Vasco, that would connect the Shreve Street all the way to the Punta Gorda Club, which now, there's a little piece of sidewalk behind Monty's that they just installed with their construction, but other than that, it's kind of a dicey area for pedestrians and bicycles. So most of these projects were not just thrown in here as wants, but that we really looked at what the need was and how it would serve the population and even the visitors that come to Punta Gorda. So I felt like the group was a very functional group and considered everything that was brought, but this definitely, we had consensus that these were the recommendations.